Welcome back to Life Enrichment with Hank Ballinger. Today is part 2 of a 3-part series. Now, part 1 was mini money, part 2 is medium money, and part 3 will be mega money. And I want to give a hats off to my editor. This was his idea to come up and talk about these 3 types of money. And I thought it was very interesting as I was going through here and I was studying and trying to get the lessons together. Thought it was very interesting that one thing really stuck out, and it was the idea of equity. And that is the thing that separates the rich from the poor and the middle class. They really understand equity very well. And if you want to build wealth, kind of wrap your head around that, study it, really get good at buying income producing property that then will build a lot of equity, because that is part of your phantom income that will build your wealth. Okay, so before we get into medium money, I want to say again thank you to those who watch the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, it really helps out. Tell others, tell your friends, share us on Facebook. We really appreciate it. Again, we're trying to help the average person, the common person, be able to get out of the rat race and to be able to build wealth or set goals and accomplish those goals. Here before too long, I'm going to have a series of just motivational studies. And in these motivational, it doesn't deal much with money. It's just how to be motivated for different aspects of your life. Maybe you don't want to build wealth. Maybe you don't want to buy a bunch of real estate, but you do want to set goals and you want to accomplish those goals, whatever they may be. So I have a series coming up here before too long that we're going to do on just motivational. I think it'd be great, but anytime you can, go on YouTube, go on a lot of medias and listen to motivational speeches. They will lift you up and they will just really help you out. So motivational people, motivational speakers are really good and they encourage you. Now, remember the chart? Everybody has income. Everybody has expenses. Now, our income needs to always be greater than our expenses. Now, some months that may not happen. Let's say that every month you're saving a little bit of money and you're doing the right thing, you're on a budget, you're saving some money, but then all of a sudden the same month, and this happens seems like, the car goes down, you have to buy a washing machine, a window gets broke. It just seems like 3 or 4 things just kind of come at you all at once, and that month you don't save. That's okay. Remember, doing a budget, you have an emergency fund. And that emergency fund will pay for those things. And then next month, get right back on track. Don't let that discourage you. Get right back on track and start saving. You can do it. You can do it. Now let's look at the middle class or medium money. Medium class, medium people. They have income and they have expenses. As most people do. Almost everybody has expenses. Now, their income a lot of times is greater than their expenses, but they still don't look at equity. They generally load up, and we're going to look at this here in just a minute. They load up on liabilities. They don't load up on assets. This is the difference between the middle class and the wealthy. And when we get to the 3rd lesson, mega money, you will see the major difference. There's 2 major differences in the middle class and the wealthy. And one is the middle class load up on liabilities, whereas the wealthy load up on assets. And the second one is that the middle class, it's one person trying to pay for all this. The wealthy encourage a lot of other people. Their renters, the people buying stuff in their restaurants, the people staying at their hotels. Every business they have, people are paying them, and they have a lot of people helping them to buy their additional assets, which then makes them more money. So there's 2 major differences. Plus, because they have a lot of assets, the wealthy, they build a lot of equity. So get good at that. Now let's look at some of these expenses from the middle class. Now, the middle class, they will have income generally from their job. And they will have expenses from their home, maybe a house payment, 2 car payments at least. They'll have taxes, insurance on both those, the house, both cars. They will have upkeep on all of those. And that all comes out of their pocket. Now, a house. Now, a lot of people will call their house their greatest asset. Your house is not an asset. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just calling a spade because a house costs you more. The true meaning of an asset is it makes you more money per month than it costs you. Now, a house, generally you have a house payment, you have taxes, insurance, you have utilities, you have every month, every year, you have upkeep, you have utilities. There is a lot of expense to a house, and generally most people's houses do not make them more per month than it costs them, so it is a liability. Their cars, it's a liability. Now, we have to have them, but they are a liability. Let's just call them what they are. A lot of people have student loans. A lot of people have credit card debt. A lot of people have boats or jet skis. A lot of people have motorcycles, side-by-sides, four-wheelers. They have all these toys and many more, and maybe some expensive jewelry, expensive clothes, go on big vacations. So they load up on liabilities, and it is that one person that has to get a job and maybe 2 jobs just to keep all the liabilities going, and they never build any equity, because all of this stuff, other than the house, but all this stuff goes down in value. Now, even the house, if you look at the house and the amount of money you put into it, because if you have a house payment, it's front end loaded on the interest, and you pay a whole lot of interest, but you also are paying upkeep, you're paying utilities, you're paying taxes, insurance. Really, by the time you pay all of that, that house, even though it's going up in value, I would love to see a study, may even have to do one of those studies one of these days and see, but I will bet even your house, you end up spending more on it than even the value of that house, no matter what that house gets up to, because of all the expenses on a house. That'd be a good study. May have to do that before long. So the middle class, they never build equity that's going to make them wealthy. Now, they get a lot of liabilities, but they have to pay for them. Now, here's another thing that the middle class do. I'm not saying that being middle class or being poor or being wealthy, none of them are wrong. None of them are better than the other one. I'm just saying that they're different statuses of money. Okay? Now, the middle class, they save to invest in income-producing real estate. They need to, but generally do not. They should save. Now, if they saved money, then eventually they could get one property, then take all the income from that property and continue to save, and then buy the second property quicker, and then take the income from that plus their savings, and then buy the third one even faster. And eventually they could get to where they could quit their job and they would constantly have income producing real estate that can provide a good living, and they wouldn't have to work every day. Now, in the illustration above, this right here, and all of these liabilities, let me show you something, and I want to make a point to this. There is one person. Now, it could be a couple, could be a husband and wife. They may be both working to afford all of these liabilities. But again, the problem is they build no equity. They might build a little equity in the house, but the rest of these zero, and it even costs you because these things are going down in value. Your 401k, a lot of that you put in because it's what's called a DC plan. It's a defined contribution plan. You're putting into it, not the company. Years ago, they had the DB plans, the defined benefit plans, where the company paid your pension or your retirement. Nowadays, Very, very, very few factories ever have DB plans anymore. They're all DC plans, like a 401k, a 403, or something of that nature, where you contribute to it. And the company may match a little bit, but they don't put the whole amount like they used to in the pension plans. Now, get aggressive at lowering your liabilities. Lower these and gain assets. If you want to get to the mega money, you really need to get good at lowering your liabilities. These are just costing you. They're draining you. It's like they're bleeding you constantly, pulling money out and giving nothing back and going down in value. So you're constantly feeding them money and they're going down in value. Whereas income producing real estate, it will pay you each month plus the phantom income, which is the appreciation, depreciation, and equity. All that stuff is yours, and it builds and builds and builds. The longer you go, the more you get. So the middle class generally can't control their income. Now let me show you why I say they can't control their income. Let's say the husband and wife, they both have a job and they're really working hard to pay for all these liabilities. They're going to work, they get up early and they go in work and they stay late. They work overtime hours all the time. They're working Saturday, they're working Sunday, they're working all the time. Sometimes every now and then they'll even pick up a second job just to pay for all these liabilities. But they can't get ahead. You know why? Because the second they get ahead, what they do is they go out and buy another liability. Oh, we finally got a little bit of money. Let's go get that four-wheeler. Oh, we finally got a little bit of money. Hey, you want to go on a nice vacation? Hey, we finally got a little bit of money. Let's get a new car. Now, I'm not saying these things are bad. What I'm saying is the middle class many times spend so much trying to chase, just trying to keep up with all of the liabilities they have, and it drains them just trying to keep up with this stuff. It really does. Now, maybe someday I can really show you what I would look at. A house payment, don't have a lot of problem with people having a house payment, but car payments, I'm not big on car payments. Don't like them. Student loans, pay that thing off. Some people keep student loans around like it's a pet or something, like it's another child, and they just keep feeding that thing, and it's kind of been around longer than their kids. So credit cards, you know, some people just keep piling these things up like they're saving them, like they're treasures or something, and they just keep piling them up, and now I got another one, and I max it out, and now I got another one. So the middle class really never get control of their income. Their income controls them. Then they go out and buy another liability, which gets them further behind, which makes them have to work more and be able to spend time less doing the things that they want to do. Now, the middle class really need to save and start buying real estate of some kind of real estate, because this real estate will build you equity. Now, what you can do with that equity, remember, as you buy one property and then as you keep raising the value, if it's a rental property and you keep raising the rents, that raises the value of the property. The value of the property is tied to your income. If you raise the rent, your income goes up. Therefore, the value of the property goes up. But remember, your debt service was here. And then you raise rents again, the value goes up. So now the delta between what you owe and what the value of it is greater. And plus, you keep paying it down each month. So you keep paying down and you keep raising the value as you raise rents. So the delta gets bigger and you can borrow from that money and buy a second property. And do the same thing. Keep raising the value and lowering the debt service to the bank. And that delta, so you take the equity from the two and buy two more. And you do the same thing. And the delta between the two, what the value of it and what you owe gets greater. You take equity from the 4 and buy 8. Then you take equity from the 8 and buy 16, and it doesn't end. And that equity will build your wealth. It's a really interesting process. Here is generally why the middle class generally never gets to mega money. They stay with medium money because they load up on liabilities, and these liabilities will eat you alive. They keep you suppressed and they keep you under. Listen, you can get ahead of this thing. You have to be very disciplined, very on purpose. You can do this. You can become redneck rich. See you on the next video.